podcast. We are live. We are out of our box, and we are here at Magnolia and May. And with me today, I have Cort Winsett.
Hello, Katie.
Cameron Spann, not on mic, because we have two amazing guests with us. We have Amanda and Chip.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how are y'all?
Okay, I am so excited to have these two on the episode. We're going to talk to them about their restaurant, but you know how we do things. Before we get into about them, about their restaurant, a little bit about their story.
Biz,
exactly, the business, dealing with the pandemic. We're going to have fun. We're going to do a list, and this list is TV hangout spots we wish were real.
Okay, now, Katie, you've got to give a little bit more background than that. Why is it that you came up with that list in particular?
Okay, so I've known Amanda and Chip a while now, and I really love Magnolia and May. I like hanging out here, bringing my friends here. So I kind of have dubbed myself. They probably think I'm the crazy lady, but I kind of feel like this is my Cheers. I like coming and hanging out here.
So you're Norm.
Yeah.
For the rest of this episode, I shall call you Norm.
I mean, I don't have a bar sold
Norm!
at mine, but I like, because I move around. I keep it interesting.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, so that's why we thought, hey, there's some great places people hang out on TV shows, so why don't we talk about them and kind of give our opinions? Cort, you want to start?
Boom, Central Perk, Friends. It's a coffee shop, not alcohol, so I wouldn't be there that often.
I mean, it looks like it has nice sofas, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, they make it look really, really cool to hang there, but have you ever noticed that the sofas, with the exception of the episodes that they actually made a big deal out of it, the sofas are almost always reserved for those 6 people. They always get to sit on the sofas. Everybody else is at a bar top table. I mean, come on.
So you wouldn't go there because you couldn't sit on the sofa?
No, I wouldn't go there because they wouldn't put alcohol in my coffee.
Moving on. Beverly Hills 90210, the Peach Pit.
Yes, of course. Well, I mean, I'm very familiar with this. It was in the second iteration of 90210, wasn't it?
Might be alone there.
Yeah. It started off as basically a diner where the kids hung out, but then they also put a bar next door that was like the Peach Pit after dark. It was definitely a classic hangout.
I know you'll like this one.
Oh, hell yeah. I call it.
Okay, go.
It's mine. It's Luke's Diner.
Take it away.
Of course, I'm going to Luke's Diner all the time, and I'm going to get him to yell at me a lot. It's going to be fun.
But they don't serve alcohol.
I don't care.
Okay.
They serve Luke's famous grouchiness.
That's the exception to his rule. No alcohol. There it is.
Exactly. Okay, the next one on the list. Cheers. Cheers. I mean, yeah. Although when I went to Boston, I was really disappointed with the Cheers bar.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I've heard that. I haven't been there myself, but I hear like from friends who live there, it's like, it's, you know.
You go there, you maybe get a drink or take a picture, but that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not worth it. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Patty's Pub.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the show so much. Y'all watch the show at all?
No, I've never actually watched Always Sunny.
I've been told multiple times I need to watch it.
Yeah.
I never do.
I hear that I'm supposed to watch it, but I haven't watched it, so I'm not familiar with the place. But sure, I mean, you know, pretty much anytime there's a bar in a TV show, they're going to make it seem welcoming.
Okay, Monk's Cafe, Seinfeld.
Another diner. But, I mean, who doesn't want to go to a New York diner? Am I right or am I right?
No, you're pretty right. That's a good one, honestly. It's very indicative of a New York diner. Like, you get that same, like, smugness from guests and stuff like that. It's pretty true, too, to style there.
Okay, the pub and How I Met Your Mother.
Okay, so McLaurin's Pub. Yeah, this is if Friends had a bar instead of a coffee shop, basically. Because this is the pub where all of the friends that are in How I Met Your Mother go to hang out every single night. It's right downstairs from their apartment, kind of like the coffee shop in Friends.
So it's convenient. I mean, it'd be great to just people watch a Barney running around trying to pick up girls. It'd be fun.
Why not? I mean, that's the game right there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Parks and Rec, JJ's Diner.
No idea.
I've never seen this one. I'm told I should watch it.
I am told so as well.
Yeah, you know, we're big fans of, like, The Office and all that stuff. Everybody's like, you don't watch Parks and Rec? I'm like, no, sorry.
Yeah,
I can quote Office to you all day long.
All day, every
Parks
day.
and Rec, not so much.
Office is way better.
I say we'll go ahead and skip down because there is The Office, Poor Richards, which I still stand by. I've never seen The Office. It's kind of a big deal. Everyone gets mad. I know.
I can't believe this.
Y'all even had a cocktail list for a while.
Yes. Oh no. We'll have to just. You'll have to come over. We'll watch The Office. Do the whole thing. Make it happen.
Okay, I may be like no longer the norm here. Like
Okay.
they just may have picked me off.
We're getting into some touchy area from you because these are places from newer shows that I don't necessarily recognize, but I do recognize one that's down the list a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it now.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the Mystic Grill. from the Vampire Diaries, of course.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Chubby's from Boy Meets World is good. That
See,
one.
Boy Meets World, that was way after my
Yeah,
time.
but that's what it was a big deal when Corey would take his dates. Like, you got to go up and order it a specific way, and if he like sniffs, and you got to do this or that. And there was a place in Chicago that it's like underground, I feel like, and you have to order a particular way, or else they're like, no, you can't eat here.
Yeah, it's kind of like the speakeasy of diner, like dives kind of thing.
It's kind of like the soup Nazi in Seinfeld.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, a couple others on here. The Smash Club and Full House. I don't really know, because that was only around for a tiny bit when Uncle Jesse created that club.
Right.
I don't know about that. Moe's Tavern from The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Mo, come on. Seriously. Get some... What is the beer that they drink on The Simpsons?
I'm not sure. I only remember the prank, like Bart would call the bar and do like prank calls all the time.
Arnold Steiner from Happy Days. That's a classic.
It is a classic, but I also kind of take issue with it, because didn't they change the name to Al's once Arnold left and Al bought the place?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay,
I have to research
Arnold
that
was
one.
played by the actor that played Mr. Miyagi in Karate Kid. But he was only in like the first season or two, and then he left and a big man came in and like bought the place, and it became Al's. And Al was the owner for the rest of the time that Happy Days was a thing.
The other couple ones on here, the Regal Beagle from Three's Company.
Absolutely.
Tropicana Club, I Love Lucy.
Sure,
Yeah, go
of
see
course.
Ricky. The Max Saved by the Bell, of course.
Yep.
No idea.
Oh, come on.
You didn't watch Saved by the Bell?
No, I was old by then.
You're not 100.
No, but believe me,
Saved by
when
the
it
Bell
came
was
out,
on for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they had like 10
Yeah.
seasons, maybe 8. I mean,
And they had all the spin-offs, the wedding, the whole
right, like they were all at the beach. I mean,
Yeah.
let me tell you what happened. Okay,
You're just making
for real,
excuses.
I'll be real with y'all. Okay, so what happened was, NBC introduced Saved by the Bell as a Saturday morning show. And I would not watch it because I absolutely refused to watch live action TV on Saturday morning. Saturday morning was when we kids who didn't have cable got our cartoons. So when they started going like, oh, sorry, we're not going to do cartoons anymore, I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm not going to watch you anymore. And there was how Saved by the Bell never got watched by Cort. You're welcome.
very good.
You were grumping. Okay, Leroy/Rachel's Place from Family Matters.
No idea.
And honorable mention on this list, Foreman's Basement, that 70s show. I mean, I think
For a
everybody...
completely different kind of treat.
Just mildly different.
fun. I mean, that kind of goes into... Y'all have some drinks that have CBD oil in it.
Yeah, we do. It's like a CBD cocktail syrup. Well, we buy it. We don't make it. There's a little bit of THC. It's like under like a milligram or something like that in each serving. And what we do is we actually use it for a couple different cocktails, namely for like our Bellini, quote unquote. So like typically you do a Bellini with a fruit puree or something like that, but we're just doing just the syrup and then topping it with bubbles. So it gets a little bit more texture to it because it's a thicker syrup. And then we also have it as like a pro tip on some of our cocktails. So you can add it into another cocktail to kind of enhance it a little bit. Because like we have 2 different flavors. We have mango jalapeno and we have lavender lemon. So they're 2 different styles in of itself, but they go well with the majority of our cocktails for both of them.
yes.
So like mango jalapeno CBD with a Bloody Mary. Why not?
Sure.
You know, like get
Absolutely.
a little bit of both for the morning.
I say
They're
I say
delicious.
yes
I've
to
tried
that.
both of them. Okay, so I kind of jumped you in with CBD, but let's talk about you two, your story, your background, and where you got to this point of having Magnolia and May.
Okay, well, if I may, take it away, Chip. So we actually both met up at culinary school in New York. We were there for, I don't know, like 3.5 years, whatever the program lasts. That's how we met. So while you're in school there, what you're doing is you're kind of working in a classroom setting that is a kitchen. So you're actually producing food for students who are dining there. So there's food being produced from like midnight all the way through midnight. Like there's 24 hours a day. There are kids and students in class cooking for other students, whether it be baking a pastry, breakfast, or anything in between. So Chip and I were actually in the same entry date because you started in 3-week blocks. So you didn't start just once or twice a year. It was literally every 3 weeks. There was incoming students and there were graduating students. So we entered in at the same time, and we started like in classes together maybe 4 weeks into the program, something like that. So after that 4-week time, essentially we were in classes together, working in a kitchen setting, mostly, from that point till pretty much now.
This was up in New York. You're from New York.
Yes.
Chip, where are you from?
I'm from Memphis.
Okay. Because my next question was going to be, you went to a culinary school in New York. You're from New York. How the heck did you end up back in Memphis? But you're from Memphis, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so after we graduated culinary school, we moved to Charleston, South Carolina for about 4 or 5 years. So we kind of messed around there, worked at a couple places. And then we had gotten married, and we were kind of like, let's go someplace else. Let's move on. Memphis came up, a couple other cities came up, but being that Chip was from Memphis, it kind of pulled us in this direction to kind of knowing that this whole new restaurant situation could be our next step.
Chip, your dad had a restaurant, correct?
Yeah, my parents ran the Grove Grill for 23 years.
Grove was a great restaurant here, and so kind of it was transitioning that Grove closed and you started?
Yeah, kind of. So what really happened was, we were at the Grove for, I don't know, maybe 3 years before we closed that down. So 3 years of that, and then COVID hit. So when COVID hit, I guess it was March 9th here in Memphis, they said, all right, that's it, close it down. We decided to close the restaurant at that point, for many reasons, but one of them being our lease was nearly up, and to kind of take out loans and kind of take on that financial burden for, Jeff and Tracy mainly, because they were the owners, to just hope to open up soon for maybe a couple months. It just, financially, the numbers just did not make sense.
Grove Grill was a large space.
It was huge. The kitchen was about the size of this whole restaurant.
Oh, wow.
It was humongous.
Yeah, we could drop this entire building in the Grove Grill.
And have room, and have room to spare. There was private dining spaces that could seat up to 150 people. The main dining room could seat about 100 people too. It was a huge space. It was great for what it was. We loved it there, but it was big. And knowing that this was kind of in the works when we closed the Grove, it kind of gave us a little safety net, I think.
So this building originally was my grandfather's an insurance salesman, and he owns the building, and this was his office. So this window that we're sitting next to was the front door originally.
That makes sense. The stairs lead right up to it.
Yeah. And then this was like where he had a secretary's desk. He never had a secretary, but the position was apparently available.
He wanted you to fill it.
Yeah.
That's a bad idea.
And then for those of you that are familiar with the restaurant, where the patio is, the patio door, that was actually his office, and his desk was right there. The kitchen was 2 offices, and I think he probably had like 4 or 5 tenants before we started working on this.
You had to come in and fully redo it as a restaurant up to code. It wasn't like you were picking up where another restaurant had left off.
It wasn't as intense as a lot of people would think. It was basically like opening up like the dining room area, and we really didn't add that much space. The only stuff we really added was, I'm sure if someone has been in the kitchen, the only area we really added was like the dry storage area and where the walk-in sits currently.
We also added some areas, like we just squared the building off. So what he's saying is this is where the front door was, but every little aspect of this building to some degree had like they added something on, but never squared off anywhere. So it was a lot of ins and outs. So just kind of capturing all those spaces, like where the restroom is on this side, that was not inside this building. Like that was a cutout where they actually had like the HVAC unit. So we kind of just made it where it made sense to kind of make sure we could drop a full size bathroom on either side. And for example, we had a huge battle within the family about what the bathroom should be. And I know it sounds so silly, but it's I like a single person bathroom. I think you keep them cleaner, it's just better for everyone, and there's no kind of issues with it typically. And being the landlord is a little older, and I had to convince him and my in-laws, and I was like, but they'll be so clean. And they are. We get a lot of comments like, you have the cleanest bathroom. So it's kind of stuff like that.
This is getting kind of inside baseball.
Sorry.
But doesn't that limit? No, I was going to ask. My question is going to get a little inside baseball. Don't you have to have a certain amount of bathroom space for however many heads you have in the room?
Yes and no.
Okay.
You do, but with such a small space like this, we only have 11 tables inside. Okay. So if you think about that, inside, if we do a buyout or a private event, we do 55 people.
Oh,
and that's not including the bar top. So we don't have a ton of space. And then outside we have those tables too, but they don't technically count all of that as seating space. Because if you talk about the winter or 100-degree summers, we're not using that. So luckily with
Pretty much there's like 2 weeks in April when you can put people outside.
Exactly. It's kind of like, oh, it's actually nice out today. Let's do that, So it's not really viable space 12 months out of the year. So there is some kind of code there for sure, but being that we're only a small place, it's not such a big issue.
Okay, I obviously know this, but I kind of want everybody to understand that the Grove Grill was one kind of clientele. Obviously, we talked about it was much bigger space, but kind of what was the change and how is Magnolia and May very different, or is it similar towards Grove Grill?
So I think what Chip and I always laugh and joke about, and sounds kind of corny, is that we kind of try to appeal to everyone to some degree. Like, we don't want people to feel like, oh, it's too formal. Oh, it's too casual. Oh, it's too expensive. And I know it sounds like, okay, like, roll your eyes, like, get out of here with that nonsense. But in reality, when Chip and I moved to Memphis, we were dying for a spot that we could frequent more than once a week and not feel like, okay, we've broke the bank. Mm-hmm. Like, now I can't go out for 2 months or whatever that may be. But also finding a place that was affordable but had great food and wasn't too tongue-in-cheek that made you feel like, I'm uncomfortable going in there because I don't know what to expect. So I think that was what our main driving goal was, like a place that we want to hang out at. Like, there are restaurants that we do love here, don't get me wrong, but it just didn't have that mix of casual but comfortable and also great food. So I think that was one of our big pushes, and a big push away from the Grove, because the Grove was, even no matter how hard we tried while we were there for that 3 years, we could not get away from the idea that it was formal. We redecorated.
It was just in our minds.
Oh, yeah.
As Memphians, we were just like, you
got to dress up.
It's a nice place. It's expensive. You got to,
And rightfully so. And I think what was so hard for us is that, we were trying to turn that page and kind of keep it viable and keep it pulsating. Because it was doing good, but Chip and I, we had this vision of, like, what else it could be. So, like, we changed uniforms and, like, made it, like, try to be more comfortable. And then people would just be like, I don't get it. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, never mind. We won't do that.
In the last few years it was open, I did love the bar scene. Like, I feel like the bar scene really picked up there at the end.
Yes.
Because I know I started going there for drinks.
Yeah, we definitely tried to, like, just revamp in everywhere we could, but to also, like, keep it viable, but still keep that nostalgia of what the Grove was. I mean, 23, 25, whatever it was, years is not a short run. I mean, that's a pretty good run for a restaurant. And I think that in reality, it was great for what it was, but with the lease and everything in COVID, we were just like, you know what? If we close this down, we have a staff to open up with at our other restaurant. So, like, we kind of were like, you know what? Sometimes it's just got to be the way it is.
How long was Magnolia and May Brasserie? And we're going to get to that. Mm-hmm. How long was that in the conceptual stage?
Part of the move back to Memphis for me and for Amanda to come here was that we were going to open a second concept. Part of that was owning a building, because there are a lot of great restaurateurs that, like, one of the quote is, you don't really make your money running a restaurant. You either make it like selling cookbooks, or you own the castle that you're in. And we're in a very fortunate situation that we're in a great spot. We had every intention of keeping the Grove open, and because of how large the kitchen was, we were going to kind of use it as a commissary space. So we weren't going to open for lunch here, I don't think at all, just because of the Grove. And I was going to be over at the Grove in the morning, doing stuff over there and coming over here. But this was always kind of in the works. It's kind of what happened.
So it's kind of that perfect storm. The pandemic hit, and it was like, okay, let's just do this. Let's go for it full force. And so you really did open your doors right in the middle of the pandemic. What was that like?
So we were closed down, I think, March 9th. We opened our doors here May 26th of 2020. So, like, it was the first or second week we were allowed to open back up. So they gave us the phase 2. You could open up with these restrictions. And we were like, next week, we're doing it. Like, let's go ahead. And the only thing that really held us back at that point to get everything in line was, of course, all the inspections and stuff like that, because nobody was inspecting, because everybody was like, well, we're not going out on the field. And we were just like, well, we're opening, for lack of better terms. And we, not to, make it a big thing, but like TABC, like, and all that, they really didn't come out and inspect, like, or like do their normal stuff, like, because they weren't allowed. So they was kind of like, okay, do a video, show us what you have, show us where the liquor is going to be, to make sure that there was no liquor in the building prior to having licensing. So it was this, like, perfect situation. Well, perfect in hindsight because we were able to really cherry pick our staff and people that we knew and had been working with for years, that we were able to bring them over, kind of trust in them, and they trust in us that, yes, it's scary because it's COVID and it's scary because it's new, but hey, we're going to make it happen and we got your back. And it was able to kind of just like make everything work very cohesively.
Okay, so menu. I know that from coming here a lot, y'all try and work a lot with local and kind of help with that. So kind of tell me a little bit about your local partners and then maybe about some of your, buffalo broccoli. Gotta talk about it.
I love buying local. I love working with all the farmers and local purveyors. And that translates to the front of house as well with like beer and, some spirits. But you also have to be reasonable and like you have to buy local when it makes sense. There's no local flour mill. So like I have to, buy commodity stuff like that. And then there are certain things too, like, yeah, there are local yellow onions, but in order to use them, I would have to charge so much money. But we work with a lot of people. Bluff City Fungi, they grow mushrooms in town. There's a produce co-op called New South Produce. I'll give him a little shout out. He does do a box that you can buy and you can use his vegetables at home. Even like off the dock seafood is in town, then we use them. And it even boils down to our dishwashing company. Our dishwashing company is a locally owned business that we use.
Okay, wait, I'm intrigued by that. What does that mean? Your dishwashing company? Does that mean you don't have an in-house dishwasher? Or?
Oh, so we lease equipment from a dishwashing company, which is, not to get super technical, but it's really nice. Like on a Saturday night at 7:30, you have somebody to call that'll come fix your machine.
Okay.
But we buy chemicals from them and that kind of stuff.
I had this picture of a bunch of dishes stacked up in the back, waiting for the dishwashing company to come pick them up and wash them.
That would be real messy.
And it's like y'all even partner with Gibson's, your neighbors, with donuts, and like there's an ice cream place you work with, I think.
Yeah, Sweet Magnolia Gelato. We worked with, and a lot of this stuff comes back to the Grove that we use them over there as well. But Sweet Magnolia Gelato is great as well.
Your menu is constantly changing. Kind of what's the thought process behind that?
We say we change our menu daily, which we kind of do, but we have core menu items. So, like the trout, shrimp and grits, buffalo broccoli, and, like pimento cheese, charcuterie board is always on there. I like to keep it interesting. I have trouble focusing a lot of the time, so I have to keep myself engaged. We kind of work with seasonality as well. So, like, if you've noticed, like, peach salad is gone because there are no more peaches. So we, like, change our salads and stuff based on seasons. And, sometimes we'll get a good deal. Like a couple weeks ago, we got a great price on prime New York strips, and so we ran that. People really enjoyed that. So it's just kind of how I'm feeling, I suppose.
No, I think it makes it interesting. Like you were saying, Amanda, you want people to have a place they can go to more than just special occasions. And so if your menu's constantly changing, they're not getting tired. I will say I have a hard time getting out of my favorites because that buffalo broccoli is incredible. The pimento cheese is what people will remember from the Grove Grill, but then y'all have kind of thrown a little spin on it a little bit. And from brunch to dinner, I haven't had lunch yet, but I've had brunch and dinner, and those are incredible.
I think what I guess is a big factor is that, yes, he likes to keep the menu interesting and change it up, but that a lot of that too comes in with what they're growing. What are those farmers saying? Hey, we have this, we were in the car the other day, or maybe last week, and New South was on the phone with us saying, hey, I have these, brassica greens, like for lettuces. And it was kind of like, okay, well, we'll give it a try and see how we could use that for a salad. So I think that's a factor for us as well, kind of like seeing what's out there, seeing what's a great product, and how we can kind of use that as a vehicle on our menu, but also to try to show people some new things that, not everybody's going to use that, or I do like something different. It kind of it keeps the guests engaged, I think, too, as well as us, because we don't want to be bored either.
Yeah. Well, one of the big things that we've heard a lot of people talk about over the last couple of years has been supply line and, how it's affecting inflation and how it's affecting people's prices. And I know it's affected grocery stores and presumably it's affected restaurants as well. So are you taking what you can get in a way, or how have you managed that situation?
So with purchasing locally, you actually kind of avoid those supply line issues because, you're not getting tomatoes from Florida, you're getting them from, 20 minutes away. During the summer, like during peak growing season, like the local produce is actually less expensive than stuff you get at the grocery store. And that's like part of the reason, why well, you want to support the local economy, but you also want to save money. We are a for-profit organization, so
Shockingly.
with that, I've found that with local products, you kind of cut that out. Like with gelato, I don't have to worry about, like Bindi Gelato having a shortage or something. I just call Hugh up and he delivers, in a week. The issues we had with supply lines were basically things like to-go boxes and stuff like that. I remember this was maybe a year ago, like we couldn't get like small little sandwich to-go boxes, and, I was on the lookout for them. And eventually we were able to get them, and I had to store like 3 or 4 boxes of them in my garage just so, we had them, because we were coming up with like every solution imaginable to get stuff. And, it was more like the broad line items were kind of difficult to come by.
Well, I think it's really cool that you are supporting local as well with doing it, and that you're introducing people to kind of what is here locally in Memphis. And I kind of want to go to the cocktails, because I know you work with a lot of the local spirits. And Amanda, I think you're maybe the mastermind behind all these different unique cocktails and how that menu's changing as well.
Yeah, so it can be collaborative at times. To be fair to the bartenders, they are pretty great what they do as well. I think a lot of times I have an idea and they give me a tweak, but a lot of it conceptually does become me at times. I think it's just kind of how it always works out. But I will say that we do use lots of the local spirits. We use Old Dominick spirits like it's going out of style. They love me over there, unfortunately. Well, probably it's great for them, because I probably go through like 2 cases of their product a week. That's a lot.
Have you been visiting?
That explains it. That's it.
I had a high school reunion the other night, and their bar at the reunion was stocked with Old Dominick products.
Well, there you go.
So,
See?
yeah.
The local beers, we use a lot of those too. Even we try to do as much as we can on the beverage program to support local too. As silly as it probably seems, we take the semi-local citrus that we can get, and then we juice that in-house versus buying the jug juices. So that is a big factor too, I think, and it's something that kind of gets forgotten about too, because it's depending on what you're kind of looking at there. But I also think as far as our cocktail list goes, we try to keep it seasonal. So if cherries are in season, the cherry lane. And when we get those cherries, we have this big batch of cherries, and we cook them into a shrub. So you get this like vinegar and acidity, but you also get some sweetness. So you can kind of play with that. And that is what we do with a lot of our fruits. So before they spoil, before they go bad and they go in the trash, because I don't throw food away, I find a way to preserve it, puree it, freeze it, figure something out with it so that it's usable, because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than a cantaloupe going in the trash because we cut it and then forgot.
I disagree. I think
all
cantaloupes can go in the trash.
Well, then you're going to have to try the cocktail and then just tell me what you think then. It's do you like tequila? Because if you like tequila, it's a pretty good one.
I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, never again on tequila.
Oh, no, he's going to say it, never again.
No, I'm not. I'm not one of those. But tequila is not my go-to.
Okay.
But, so,
I feel you. And I get it. It's definitely an acquired taste, to say the least. But, the cocktail program, we definitely try to keep it interesting. Like the cantaloupe cocktail's about to leave because it's getting cold out there. So we're just kind of running through that cantaloupe, and then we're going to something with pears because it's pear season,
Pears are delicious.
Right. Sorry, we'll get you with the pear cocktail.
Yes.
Wines and things like that, I think the factor there, I'm constantly changing the menu. My running joke with my liquor reps is that I like to make myself crazy. I'm constantly tasting new wines or spirits or whatever it may be to see how I can integrate that in. They also make fun of me because I'm one of few of their restaurants who are so fluid with the menu. I will change it on the drop of a hat. Like, oh, I like that product, bring it in tomorrow, and I'll change my menu. But that's great for me because I think in the supply chain issue where Chip's lucky to not have as much of an issue with that beverage program, you're kind of at the whims. If they don't have glass, there's no tequila. If they don't have this, you don't get it. And because I'm my wine list and beverage list is just so kind of fluid and kind of fly by the seat of your pants in some degree, we change it up because, hey, I'm out of that. I can't get that anymore. Cool. Okay. What else you got? In a way, it's kind of nice, in my opinion, because a guest who loves that Alvarinho, hey, I don't have that anymore, but I do have this. I think you're going to like it. Let's try that. And you open that door to another product for them, another thing that they could find on a shelf at a liquor store. which I think is kind of fun.
Although I think my mother-in-law requests that you have a certain bottle for her.
Don't worry, the Solar Pinot Noir is going absolutely nowhere. If I find out that's going away, I will stockpile it, I promise.
It's kind of interesting. You're talking about sort of broadening your horizons or expanding your knowledge just by experimentation. One of our big things that we talk about on the podcast on a more regular basis is sharpening your saw or continuing education. And I'm wondering how that fits in with the culinary industry. Do you have a convention that you go to every year, or do you have classes that you continuing ed that you do, or do you go back later because you want to learn about a new area, or how does that work? Or do you just basically, once you're let out in the world, it's just figure out what you can?
I mean, there are conventions. There are like the turkey conference that Chip went to. It was great. New mom, and my husband leaves for months. But it wasn't months. It was a week.
A month-long turkey.
He wishes. Anyway, sorry. But I think there are options to learn more. And I'm a certified sommelier, so I could go ahead and do level 3, level 4. And
okay, tell me what that means.
So a sommelier is you are essentially certified and tested to have a certain amount of knowledge and information about wine.
Okay.
So there's 3 parts to that. It's knowledge, just book information, learning what grapes are, where they come from, what regions, things like that. Then there's also a tasting aspect of it. So you can blind taste a glass of wine, and you should be able to give the grape, the regions coming from, the vintage potentially, and if it's, all those different aspects of it. And then there's also the service portion of that, and kind of answering questions with a guest tableside and being able to suggest pairings for that guest. Hey, I'm going to have fried chicken and mac and cheese. What wine would you suggest? That's the question I failed on the first time. Still bitter. But that's kind of, so there are ways to learn more. I mean, there's also forums as far as not continuing education, but contemporary. So our friends who went to college with, kind of keeping up with them, seeing what they're doing and kind of what they're dabbling in at that time, I think is a big factor too.
The simple act of going out to eat, we were just in Washington, D.C., and we went to 3 restaurants, and you can pick out ideas from what they do and kind of make it your own. And I mean, something as simple as scrolling through Instagram, following restaurants and kind of keeping up with trends and all that stuff.
Okay, a question I have for you is, because we are a financial podcast, and a lot of it is this season we're kind of talking about entrepreneurs and trying stuff out. So somebody who's I'm a great cook, I'm going to start a restaurant. Can you kind of talk a little bit about how this is a family thing? You live and breathe by this restaurant. Yes, you're juggling kids, but how that aspect of running your restaurant?
So I think that the juggling aspect is real. Our in-laws, my mother and father-in-law just walked in actually for the day. So, I mean, one of the 4 of us, if not more than that, is always in this building while we're open or even beforehand. We do live and breathe this place. It is what we've always, at least what we've always wanted to do, in my opinion. But it kind of gives us that outlet to be creative. It gives us that outlet to really kind of show what we think Memphis needs or wants or, would enjoy. I think as far as someone who is I like to cook, I want to open my own restaurant, and I mean this in the most loving and kind way. It is a lot of work, and it's a lot of work even for somebody who loves it. We just said we went out of town last week. We had a wedding in, wine country, Virginia, and then we went to DC because we were hey, we're an hour away. Let's go get some food. So we kind of extended it.
You were doing research. That's what you were doing.
We were definitely, we were doing some research. We were doing some research. But I think what people don't see from the outside, of course, because why would they, is the phone calls, the text messages, hey, I saw the schedule come out. I can't work that while you're on vacation, while you're at a wedding, and it's a lot. And I feel while we love it, you wear so many hats, because not only am I the owner/manager, I'm also sometimes my lovely employees, friend, but sometimes, hey, I don't know what this is on my kid's face. Can you help me? That's what I was handling when we walked in. Is this a bug bite, or, is this a rash? And while that's so silly, it's just that's kind of the role we have found ourselves in, because not only are we a family restaurant, we do treat our staff like family. Being that a lot of them have been with us for so long, it's very, I would say, easy at times, especially with my front of house staff, that we kind of know our next move before we do it. There's a very clear, we're good, we can joke around, we can have fun, but also they know, hey, this is this is what it's going to be. Like, they know what to expect when they come in. So I guess, yeah, that's kind of like how that works.
It is a lot of hard work, and I guess it goes with owning a business in general. I mean, like, there was one kind of surreal moment, I want to say, like 2 weeks ago. I had to, like, fix a table on the patio, and so, I fix it, and then, like, 5 minutes later, I'm back there cooking hamburgers, and I'm just kind of like, you have to wear a lot of different hats, and, like, employees will ask me like medical questions, and I'm just like, I'm not a doctor. Like, I can't help you with that. But
You'd be surprised the scope of questions we get asked on a regular basis. It's shocking.
But I would think that'd be a testament to you guys with the loyalty of your staff and how you've built this culture that they are family, and it's not just, right now there is an issue with jobs that people don't want to work. And I've been in here and you have a younger staff, but it seems like they're loyal.
Oh, yeah. Like you said, my staff is definitely younger. And there are a lot of restaurants who don't want to employ younger people. They say they're lazy or whatever they say. But in my opinion, my host staff are all high school kids. They're all in high school. And my front of house, like my serving staff, I think they're all about 25 to 30. I think I might be, I'm not the oldest. Someone else is my age, but we're all like, the oldest is 30. And I think that there is that loyalty. Like one of my girls, she's like, hey, I saw your short staff this weekend. Do you need me to pick up a shift? Even though that means she's working 7 shifts, which is a lot for a server who has a kid or who has a life or, another job. So I think that loyalty really kind of lies in there. It's a lot, And I also I think in some respect, I don't expect my employees to go above and beyond like I do, like we do, because that's just not their responsibility.
Cam wants to ask a question.
Oh, no. Now I'm in trouble.
Sorry, I'm totally stealing Cort's mic here. As a branding guy, I'm really interested in like how you picked out the name and the logo. Were you on the same page? And like what the hell a brasserie is? Like, can you walk us through that process and if it was easy or difficult?
So honestly, the most difficult part of all of this was coming up with a name. It really was. Like we paid a marketing team to come up with names, and then you just throw out a bunch. You just have to come up with ideas. What we eventually settled on is that my family has a tradition that before a child's born and the gender, you give them 2 nicknames. And my sister was pregnant when we were opening.
We were both pregnant at the same time.
Oh, well, so they were both pregnant. And so my daughter was baby Magnolia, and then my niece was baby May. And so we came up with that, which kind of puts us in a perplexing situation because we're going to have to name a restaurant after my son so he doesn't feel left out.
I was about to say, yeah.
But so that's kind of how we went about that. And then my father was big on the orange color, so the bar stools are orange, so he kind of forced that upon all of us. And then we had somebody come up with a logo, and we kind of have several different iterations of it, but we picked the one we liked.
And what about the decor? Because it's I'm looking around and you've got onion bags behind us, and then we've got whiskey barrel tops. And so tell me a little bit about how you decided the decor.
So it's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff. We do have an ode to my grandfather's office. There's a picture of the state of Tennessee above one of the tables over there, and that was hanging in his office. And then, we just kind of picked different elements. Like the bar top is from Imperial Lanes on Summer. And then right behind us, we have a 1973 Imperial Lanes bowling trophy. We kind of have some odes to the Grove Grill up there as well. I kind of made a personal touch with stuff. I have a Gaston little statue. And then we'll hang our kids' art up on the wall sometimes. To show you how far back this goes, I was at a beer festival in Chicago back when we still lived in Charleston, and my friend took me to a restaurant, and it had a whiskey barrel wall, and I just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So we went ahead and did it here, and that's actually a carpenter and my father put that together, so that's a custom-built thing. So
it's beautiful. Cam's going to have to get a picture of that and post with this episode.
Yeah, one thing about the decor, which I think is kind of awesome and maybe a little crunchy, is that a lot of the stuff is repurposed. So the whiskey barrels, they, were once whiskey barrels, and they could be used for decor, but we kind of took them apart to make that. A lot of the, bowling lanes, for our bar top, that's repurposed. All the chairs and bar stools in this restaurant were bought used. And we took everything and kind of made it our own. We restained the chairs, we reupholstered them, or whatever it was, just so, also, again, we were opening during a pandemic. There wasn't a lot of stuff. You couldn't order things, really, to some degree. So we were like, okay, where can we get some of these things from that are great products going to function great. We just have to kind of alter them to our taste or style. And I think that was a big factor for us. Like, kind of, and it makes it feel more comfortable because it's a little mismatched and sometimes it's a little odd because, you know, kids aren't hanging up on the restaurant wall. But hey, you know, it's kind of like either you love it or hate it, really. It's kind of how it ends up being.
It makes you feel at home.
Yes.
Like, I love it.
I also failed to mention that if you look behind the bar where all the bottles are, those shelves, that wood is the original wood from the building. So that wood's from like 1920.
Wow. What I'm getting from you guys is that everything is used. Like you said, you hate to throw away a cantaloupe. You want to figure out a way to use it. And what I want people to know who maybe have not visited you guys, your prices are not crazy. You have very good prices. You can get an excellent meal. The quantity is perfect. And so sometimes I think people who are changing up menus and doing things that they throw a crazy sticker price with it, but you don't have that at all.
No, I mean, we really want it to be affordable. We want it to be everybody's cheers. You know, we want you to come in. I mean, we have people who come into the bar 4 or 5 times a week, and you know,
again, Cort, dang it.
No, it's not. It's actually not him. But we want you to feel like you can come in and spend your money, your hard-earned money, and know that you're not breaking your bank. But also, like Chip was saying earlier, using local products, using all those different things, and kind of trimming the fat where it's not necessary. You know, things as simple as we don't have to-go cups. You know, I'm sorry, people get mad and like I don't want to buy them for them to go in the trash or. You know, them to sit on the shelf or one person to ask for it. And it's just kind of silly. Like those are expenses that
what
you
if
don't
I
need
brought
to
my own to-go cup?
Go for it. I'll fill it for you. And that's the thing. I was like, I know you have a cup in your car. I'll wash it for you. Just, bring it in. But while it's kind of silly, I think, you're right. We don't have that huge sticker price. We try to keep our menu items affordable. And even with like inflation and things like that, like, we definitely are conscious of how we are pricing our menu, whether it be beverage or food, because stuff's expensive right now, and it's crazy.
Well, Cameron mentioned it when he was talking. I mentioned it earlier when I was talking. We just talked about decor. I don't see a piece of brass in here. So what is a brasserie? What is a country brasserie?
I'm going to let you answer that question, Chip. You go ahead.
So a brasserie is a traditional, it's like a French bistro kind of deal. So they, typically have very large menus and it's more casual. So what we kind of did is we called it a country brasserie because while we do have elements of, French technique, we didn't want to pigeonhole ourselves into just being like a Southern restaurant. And we call it country because we'll use rustic dishes from throughout the world. Like right now we've got a baba ganoush on the menu. We've been known to throw fried rice on the menu.
Oh, that's so good.
We are, we make our own pasta sometimes. So, we try to keep it creative and rustic and approachable for everybody.
Fantastic.
I think the best part about what we do, I mean, like we said earlier, it's definitely a family affair, but I can't imagine us doing anything else. Like yes, sometimes it's frustrating working with your spouse or your in-laws or your mom and dad for Chip.
Tell me about it.
It's
I work with my spouse.
It could be.
She doesn't listen to this, so I can say that.
I say it anyway, so it's okay. I'm not gonna get in trouble, I don't think. But it is really like what we want to be doing, and we do feel pretty fulfilled in this. But it is a lot of work, and But we love having it as a family aspect. I mean, we bring the kids up here after school just to kind of like check in, make sure everything's good. Okay, great. I'm going to take them home. Or, it's kind of a constant like, okay, go get the kids from school, go drop them off, bring them this way. It's kind of you're managing all that at the same time, it's just kind of part of the game for us.
Is one of you here until it closes?
Yes, typically both of us if we're here.
Okay. So after it closes and you go on your merry way home or wherever else that may be, do you find yourself still talking about work and the business in the restaurant just basically all of the time?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's not just us.
Sometimes we have to we're like, you know what? I can't talk about this anymore. Like, I'm like, my head is still spinning from service, or like I'm either angry or like whatever it is, like whatever's happened that's kind of on the table at that point. I'm just like, all right. Or he'll be like, that's it. Like, we're done. This conversation's got to be over because we're making ourselves crazy. Or like, we're not making any headway. Like, we're just talking to, make ourselves more crazy.
I know the kids are young, but do you have hopes that they're going to follow in your footsteps?
From my perspective, I'm going to say I don't think they will. Madison loves to cook with us now, like at the home and here, but I also don't hope, but I want them to do what's going to make them happy, and I don't know if this is what would make them happy. I don't know. What do you think, Chip?
I mean, it's really too early to tell. I mean, if, I'm doing something at the house, they want to grab the stool and, help us, like Amanda was rolling pizza out the other day, and, both the kids were fighting over who got the rolling pin. So maybe, who knows?
So what would be your vision of your goal for the restaurant for the next couple of years? What do you hope for?
I mean, I'm kind of liking what we're doing now.
This area just generally is
booming.
It's a big thing. So it seems like you could really make this work for a while if that's what you want to do.
I mean, we got to put 2 kids through college, so hopefully this lasts a while.
Forget college. How about elementary school? Okay. I mean, we got to put them to elementary school first, and then we can think about high school and college. I think, as far as going forward, I mean, you're right. This is a great area. We are super lucky. I'm going to say we're very intuitive, maybe. It's totally a lie. That we got here before this kind of all blew up. I mean, because when we started this, across the street where Hen House and all that, that wasn't there. That was still Bogey's. And the paint shop and the tobacco shop maybe even was still there. So we definitely are in an area that has kind of exploded in the last year and a half. And they're about to start doing the work in the shopping center across the street from us, between us and Hen House, and revamping all these apartments over here. I mean, there's a lot of movement in this area. Yeah. So I agree with what you're saying, that this is something place that we can definitely stay pat and be happy and comfortable here, I think, for some time, as long as we keep up our act and don't mess it up. But I think, as far as that goes, I think I know it sounds kind of lame, but staying pat and being, kind of just keeping at this, this path that we're on of serving some good food, keeping it affordable, and, making some friends along the way. Why not?
Okay, I want you to pitch where your location is, when you're open, and kind of what you offer.
So we are at Mount Moriah in Mendenhall. We are open for dinner Tuesday through Saturday from 4 till 10. We do lunch Thursday and Friday from 11 till 2, and then we do brunch Saturday and Sunday 11 till 2:30.
I love you guys. Y'all are awesome. You have wonderful food, wonderful drinks. So if you haven't checked this place out, you really need to check it out. Amanda, Chip, thank you so much for being on this. I've been talking about it for a while that I wanted to get you on, and it's just been with y'all's schedule so busy. And so I appreciate you taking the time. Just so you know, listeners, since we've been here, Mom and Dad have walked in, deliveries, happened right before this, the phone's ringing. So this is a active, busy couple trying to make sure this restaurant is profitable, makes wonderful things. So when you come and eat here, you can really, there's a story behind it. There was some thought put into it, and it wasn't just this is on the menu. Chip, Amanda were the masterminds behind it.
Well, we try to be, at least, right?
Well, and it's kind of cheesy that the simple act of just coming to eat here, you're supporting several local businesses by either ordering a cocktail or, ordering an entree. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like an amazing bullseye to me.
It is an amazing bullseye.
Come eat at Magnolia and May and support many local businesses. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, there's the closing bell. Guess what? You've made it to the end of yet another episode of the Bullcast podcast. If you liked what you heard and you'd like to hear more, please feel free to go to your favorite subscription service and sign up to have our podcast beamed directly to your device every single Thursday at noon. If you'd like to find out more about me, Katie, or Cameron, please feel free to go to our website. That's bullcastpodcast.com. You can leave a comment, suggest a topic, or even invite yourself to be a guest, and we'll be happy to have you on. If you'd like to find out more about this place, is there a website for this place?
Thankfully, there is. It's magnoliamay.com.
Magnoliamay.com. You
can check out their Instagram, because there's some great pictures of the food, and Chip throws some funny stuff on there.
Do they have a handle? What's the handle?
So we're on Instagram at Magnolia and May. So if you like professional wrestling, 90s cartoons, and want to watch me make a fool of myself, go check it out.
Fantastic. I'm going to go there. So, ladies and gentlemen, at Magnolia and May, and of course, our handle, as always, is at Bullcast Podcast. Also, we have the words on the Twitter with the tweets. That's at Bullcast Podcast as well. Finally, we may or may not have mentioned that Cameron and Katie and I all work at a place called Pickler Wealth Advisors. And if you'd like to find out more about us, there's more about us on that website too. More about our amazing team, more about what it is we do, and more about our boss, David Pickler. Please feel free to go to that website. That is picklerwealthadvisors.com.
That's advisors with an O.
Not an E.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have given you so much to be going on with. Not only that, but we've given you plenty to come and eat at Magnolia and May. So for now, I'm Cort.
I'm Katie.
I'm Cam.
Amanda.
And Chip.
Woohoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are out.